Continue to work with NSString in this tutorial. Some of the other common things that you do with a string is that you may have a comma separated string and you want to split it up and load it into an array. So let's do that. So I've set this up. This time my string is equal to 1, 2, 3. It may be a name of your football games or whatever. And then I'm gonna throw in start working with NSArray, which is coming up next, so I'm gonna start talking about now. And I'm gonna call it chunks on a concrete instance of the string class that I've been working with my string. I'm gonna call a method component separated by a string and provide a comma in there within add double quotes that we've been working with, and run this application and look at a couple of things. So here we go, and the string is 1, 2, 3, right? NSArray not there yet. Now I have chunks, right? If I do this, I don't see anything. What's in chunks right now? Another common operation is to use a for loop to iterate over this array now, and we'll come look at it next when I'm talking more about NSArray. But here's another way. I am going to hover over this thing and this and say print description, and it's going to print it out right here, 1, 2, 3. So a string has been split wherever it sees a comma, and your first element in that array is 1, 2, and 3. We'll look at NSArray next in detail, but that's how you split a string, and it's a very common thing to do. So I have set this up. I'm going to define another string, my string 2, and also make it 1. So my string is 1 and my string 2 is 1. To check if they're both equal, you do something like this. Mind your brackets and parens. See, within brackets I have my string is equal colon my string 2, and of course these parens are for the if statement. If I run this, I'm expecting to see yes. Is my string equal to my string 2? They both 1, right? So it should say yes, and it does. So now I'm going to change it. It's that, and now they're not equal. So that's how you can check if two strings are equal. Another very common thing is to say, okay, at a substring from a bigger string. So we're going to go back to NSMutable string. I'm going to make an NSMutable string my string 2 from the my string. So actually it'll be 1, and I'm going to say my string substring from index 2. Now it is a 0 based index, so 0, 1, 2, I'm expecting E. And sure enough, it spit out E. Now if I was to say 1, and we are going to see what this one is going to do. You see it said NE. So from 1 all the way to the end. Now there are other functions in here as well. I just deleted that and pressed Control space and popped it up. Substring from index, substring to index, substring with range. So if you want to say, okay, what's between 1 and 3? So you can do things like that. So all these things are there for you to play with. I think by now you probably have a good idea of using strings and feel much more comfortable, and they are very important. So next we're going to start looking at NSArray, an example I used earlier. We're going to take a string, split it on a comma, and loop through and start looking at NS array. It'll become clear in a sec. So right in front of you, I'm gonna delete this bit. Actually only this. And so I've set this up. My string is equal to 1 comma 2 comma 3. In NS array chunks, my string components separated by a colon. For I int I equal to 0, and then within brackets, chunks has a count function, returns how many of how many elements are there in an array, and then I log it out as chunk access a certain member, like that. Let's look at it. So I have an array at this point. It's called chunks, and as you know before, I can't see it. I hover over it, down arrow. I'm gonna hover there, hover here, down here, print description. I have 1, 2, 3. So I, at this point, chunks.count should be 3. There are 3 elements, and I at this point is 0. So chunks 0 is, the arrays are 0 based index, so the 0 would be 1, and sure enough it is. Now here I has been incremented to 1, so chunks array at position 1 has 2, and sure enough it does. So that's 1, 2, 3. So that's the technique of taking a string, splitting it up, and then iterate it over an array. So basically now we can go into talking about arrays from at this point, and we already have how to create an array, how to loop over an array. Mostly that's what you do. You have an array, you iterate over it, you loop over it, and do certain operations. Now let's play with it a little bit more, and you have an array. From array we want to make a string. So that's how you do that. NS string, my star string 3. Then on the array you call components joined by string, and provide how would you like it to be separated by. And when you run this program, you will see that array will get become a string again. See, we had 1 comma 2 comma 3 and became an array. We joined it again using a semicolon as a separator, and now we have 1 semicolon 2 semicolon 3. So from a string to an array, and then from an array back to string.